to your mind when you think of Taiwan? A delicious bubble tea, potential war, or maybe its big neighbor, China?
This Saturday, 23 million Taiwanese people will shape their future. They're picking their next president.
This isn't just any election. It's a big deal for 2024 with major implications for tech, regional security, and global diplomacy.
Now, buckle up as I walk you through the 5 top crucial facts you should know.
In Taiwan, the influence of women is impossible to overlook. A trend has emerged where women often have higher voting rates than men, almost becoming a tradition. Remember, in 2016, Taiwan made history by electing its first female president, Tsai Ing-wen.
This year, the buzz around women's political empowerment is reaching new heights. A Netflix show hits hard on politicians. Who knew streaming could stir up such a storm?
A number of male politicians have found themselves under the microscope, facing investigations for sexual harassment. A presidential candidate had to step up, offering not just 1, but 3 apologies in a day.
民进党未能及时、妥善的处理，我要向当事人还有台湾社会表达歉意。
In Taiwan, voting isn't mandated. But when Tsai Ing-wen first clinched her victory, ladies led the charge.
Female voters turned out in such force they beat male voters by a notable 2.4%. But there's a twist this year. No female candidates in the running. Taiwan's all-female party also failed to join the game. Politicians are pulling out old stops to charm the younger crowd, doing everything they can to make sure these young voters show up and cast their ballots.
It still affects the younger generation who have been voting for gender equality, but the impact is no longer as widespread as when it started.
The new battleground? Social media.
A fierce political battle is playing out on screens this election season.
In the last 2 presidential elections, winning over the younger generation was the key to victory. Just like their global peers, many young Taiwanese are living their digital lives on social media. And politicians have done their homework. They're teaming up with major influencers, staging concerts, and even crafting chocolates, all to create sensation on social media. It's a full-on charm offensive to win hearts and votes online.
不做总统没事的话，可不可以让我去做 part time？
As cat and dog politicians grabs headlines, TikTok is also feeling a more serious aspects of Taiwan's politics, the disinformation war.
They pretend to be local communities, local groups on social media. For example, there will be a group talking about hiking, a movie, food. However, they will turn to a political mode, propaganda mode at some point.
And why does it happen? It is all about the ever-present geopolitical rivalries around the island. This is far from a well-kept secret. In fact, the intricate dynamics between Taiwan, its giant neighbor China, and its key political ally, the United States, are more than just regional chatter. They could significantly sway the stability and security of our entire region. China stands firm on its stance that Taiwan is an independent country, frequently flying jets crossing the median line of the strait. On the other hand, the United States backs Taiwan's democracy and sells weapons to the island.
This dynamic adds a layer of growing tension to the region.
While no one sees an immediate war declaration from China to claim the island, all involved parties remain vigilant. Taiwan's domestic politics operate under the looming shadow of these complex trilateral relations. If you look at Taiwan's political spectrum, we have the Green Camp, represented by the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, DPP. They are seen as pro-Washington and pro-independence. On the other side, there's the Blue Camp, the main opposition Kuomintang, KMT. They support the One China policy and are viewed favorably by Beijing. As threats of conflict loom, Taiwan's political history is witnessing a first. 3 vice presidential candidates were reportedly once American citizens or green card holders.
These unique scenarios underscores the complex international influences in Taiwan.
Adding a fresh twist to the plot, a new party has joined the competition for the first time in Taiwan's history, making this election even more interesting. This new player brings an actual layer of excitement yet uncertainty to the race. This fresh competitor is dressed in teal, just like candidates from Australia's last federal election.
In Taiwan, it's called Tiffany blue.
有那个专有名词叫 Tiffany 的，就是蓝绿混合起来那。
They are known as Taiwan's People's Party, TPP. Its emergence mirrors a global trend of new political forces shaking up traditional party lines. It aims for a political middle ground, claims to offer a third way beyond the traditional party politics that many have grown weary of.
Young voters see it as a beacon of hope, while skeptics cast a suspicious eye on his accountability.
I think it's not unique in the global context because we have already seen a lot of typical populist politicians like Donald Trump, like Boris Johnson. People will be very happy when Cohen criticizes the government because he's very good at pointing out the question, but there's no alternative.
It has ruffled feathers among the youth, yet some remain optimistic about him bringing change.
So, the pressing question is, what do Taiwanese people want?
Amidst inflation and economic downturns, Taiwan faces similar challenges. Young people are sounding the alarm on housing affordability, while women are increasingly vocal about childcare and aged care issues.
Taiwanese people are very practical. It means they care about whether they can have the economic support they need in life.
Low wages are causing Taiwan's younger workforce to struggle, making it tough for many to start a family on the island.
Most of people are disappointed about the economic environment. Although we see the record number of the growing GDP, it is a rising inequality that makes people dissatisfied.
Each political party has proposed solutions, yet all seem to be relying on the same approach, splashing the cash. As the debate heats up, the public is turning a critical eye towards the presidential candidates, questioning their involvement in violating construction regulations or flipping properties.
But who's really winning over the voters? We'll have the answers soon enough.
The polls have now opened in Taiwan for a presidential election that's been billed as a choice between peace and war. With the island's president at her term limit, Taipei will have a new leader to guide the economy and manage ties with Beijing. Live to Stash Butler in Taipei. Stash, what's the latest?
So we're here at a Taipei polling station. The first voters have just arrived, and among them, the leader of the third party, Taiwan's third party, the Taiwan People's Party, Ke Wen-je, former mayor of Taipei, led the city for 8 years up until 2022. He's just spoken to media and cast his ballot. Any minute now, he's going to emerge from that process. Yesterday evening, Ke and his campaign held a huge rally in central Taipei on the street leading up to the presidential office. They said 350,000 people were there. Now, Ke's supporters are mostly young people. Ke himself says he can thread a middle way through relations between Taipei and Beijing, and he's focusing on domestic issues, something that young voters are particularly concerned about: the price of housing, the cost of living. His main opponents are Lai Ching-te, the current vice president candidate for the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, who sees Taiwan as already a sovereign country called the Republic of China, Taiwan. He's wary of ties with Beijing, with China that claims Taiwan as its own and hasn't threatened or has not ruled out taking it by force. Their third candidate in that race, Hou You-yi of the Kuomintang or KMT, wants to build stronger cultural and economic ties with Beijing. So really, but at the moment, it's just a case of voting. We're going to see throughout the day these candidates turning up at polling stations where they're registered. Ke here in the capital will be bringing you more as they come.
And can you take us through how the day will pan out in other areas of the country, and when will we have a result?
Well, really, for the campaigns here, it's a day of rest for these candidates who've been trekking up and down the country, meeting voters frantically for the last few months. That's because I think we're just seeing Ke passing behind us in a moment here. We'll show you footage of him when he comes by. But for him and the other candidate, it's really a day of rest because Taiwan's election law strictly bans campaigning on election day. That's why behind me, you see no election posters. There are no people flyering outside. Recently on the internet, images of a man who'd shaved a picture of Kerr's face onto the back of his head went viral. The Election Commission has said he's not allowed to vote unless he wears a hat. Apart from that, other quirks are, here he comes, Ko Wen-je behind me, the former Taipei mayor and third-party candidate, dark horse candidate, the wildcard candidate in this race, having his tie adjusted there by his campaign. In the purple tie here, you see walking by, potentially over there, coming by here, the campaign for Ko Wen-je. Oh, it's rather hectic, as you can see here. So many media outlets. Taiwan is an incredibly vibrant media environment here. It's not actually mostly local reporters. It's local reporters here. Every election is as hectic as this, with the added bonus here of this time round of the international media who are gathered to watch Kerr and the other candidates vote. Just hopping down here. So now that Kerr has voted, we'll see the other candidates voting. For many people around the country, Taiwan has 19.5 million eligible voters out of a population of about 23 million, crammed on an island half the size of Tasmania. Now, another quirk of Taiwanese voting is there's no postal voting. Everyone has to return to the place where they're registered originally, where they grew up. So about 750,000 people yesterday returned home on the trains. That was a higher number than in 2020, the last presidential election, when turnout was 75%. So we're going to have to see if that affects turnout. Polls here close at 4 p.m. We should have an idea of who's winning in the 4 or 5 hours following that, and a victory speech at the earliest around 9 or 10 p.m.
Thanks, Dash. We'll let you go and get involved in all that action over there. Thank you.